Welcome to the Christian Nutrition Casual Review. I'm your host, Wesley, and today I'm joined by LarryBoy.
Well, do I have a name change?
Oh, no. Okay, I'm joined by my co-host.
Mary.
And today we're talking about LarryBoy. There's no hero quite like LarryBoy, even though they didn't use that theme song in this episode.
No, they didn't. That was sad.
We were reviewing a legit LarryBoy episode. Out of all of the Yippee episodes so far, which we're up to episode 11 now, I'm numbering them correctly. This is the only one that has been like a legit VeggieTales episode.
Yeah, it felt like
not
a
on a
VeggieTales.
stage, not reusing sets, not Larry bursting through the door and then saying, "Oh, where did Pluto go?" Nothing like that. This is a
the real
legit
deal.
episode. The Scallion is at the beginning. He tries to rob a museum, I believe.
Yeah, do you want to say the title of it?
Oh, sorry, Larry and the Cape Coat Caper.
LarryBoy.
Yes, LarryBoy.
And the Cape Coat Caper. Yes.
I thought I said that. All right, whatever. First off, if anyone who's even gotten this minute into this episode and you're wondering, is this worth watching? Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, sign up for a free trial on Yippee just to watch this episode is completely acceptable, and I agree. There are 10 other episodes, and I think after watching the LarryBoy episode, go ahead and watch those. There are some good ones in there, as we have reviewed them
Or
all
if you
so
want to
far.
save the best for last, then watch the others first, you know.
I think you should start with this one. Like, don't like be like, oh, I watched all these other ones and I don't watch LarryBoy now because I'm all VeggieTaled out. No, start with this one.
Sure, okay.
LarryBoy, and then watch a Shakespeare play, because I think that's probably the best of the stage
Of the ones we've watched
productions.
recently.
I feel like that's the one I like the most. So, anyways, LarryBoy. What happens in this episode, Mary?
Well, as you said, it starts off with Scallion, who is robbing a museum.
Now, I do want to mention that I'm not going to mention this for the rest of the review. I want to mention now. I noticed there was a lack of music, and I don't know if it's because they're on the more rush schedule now. There's a lack of music, and usually there's like tense little music. There was like no music.
Yeah, it was silent.
It was
That's
just
true.
the sound. It was just the Scallion robbing the sound effects. I thought it was pretty cool until it goes to the theme song. And then, because that seemed like kind of out of place, because the theme song is still on the stage. And as we've determined in previous episodes, the theme song is done legit every time. It's not copy and paste, meaning that they're not pretending like, okay, we're going to show a video now to the crowd. We're actually doing the theme song every time. So it's weird that we have a legit episode, but it's intercut with this stage production
I don't think
song.
they needed the VeggieTales theme song at all.
No.
And it could have given them some extra time.
Absolutely
to do
not. They could have
something,
cut it
but
out here for sure.
It was very weird.
It was out of place. So anyways, I just want to mention that
Right.
because the music is like non-existent, and then all of a sudden we have VeggieTales theme. The new VeggieTales theme song, it just felt way out of place.
Right.
So, okay.
Okay, so Scallion is robbing the museum. He is somehow walking a tightrope, and then he hangs upside down while holding onto the tightrope. So, you know.
It's actually pretty impressive.
It was very impressive.
I wish I could do that.
He steals a bow tie, I think. I don't remember.
I didn't actually remember the MacGuffin that he stole.
I think it was a bow tie. Some fashionable item.
Yes. For a fashionable Scallion.
Right. And he gets away, and that's when the theme song happens.
Yes. Oh, well, no, okay. He doesn't get away because
mean,
okay, so when he steals it, he gets through all these lasers like super easy. And then he steals the MacGuffin is what I'm going to call it. He jumps through the lasers, and then as he's casually walking out, he somehow trips a laser on the ground. One laser, like one or two lasers on the ground. And that's when he's like, uh-oh, and then theme song starts.
Because he wasn't wearing his spy glasses that made
I
him
guess he
see
didn't see the
lasers.
laser on the ground.
Yeah.
So that because of that laser, we're skipping the theme song. LarryBoy shows up basically.
But first, so we go to the theme song, and then it comes back to the story.
Yes.
And it opens. It kind of reminds me of Fib from Outer Space
Yes.
because they're leaving a movie theater.
Well, and this episode's all about lying.
Yes.
Which is
They're-
helpful to think about Fib from Outer Space.
Laura and Callie.
Question: is this a soft reboot of LarryBoy,
I
or
would say yes.
are we saying that this is a continuation of the older ones?
No, it's still a continuation, but
But it's kind of a soft reboot.
I would say it's kind of like a software. But we have all of the elements that we've had
Yeah,
before. So
True. Okay, sorry. So Laura and Callie are coming out of a movie theater, and they say
Right.
movie, so it's not the stage
yes,
production.
it's
'cause
not
I
the
was
stage.
a
It's,
little confused.
they at first I was like, are they trying to like tie the stage in because we
Yeah.
just had the theme song?
I thought
But no,
so too.
it's definitely a movie theater. They
Yep.
said, oh, that was a good movie. She mentioned some VeggieTale variations of famous directors or
Now
whatever.
on the movie theater,
Wall?
there were two posters. One was for a The Sound of Mushroom, which was
Yes.
clearly a Sound of Music parody.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also Peas, which was a parody of Grease. Which movie do you think they came out of? They didn't say. But if you had to guess which one
If
they
I had
once
to guess, I would. Knowing Laura and Callie, I would just pick Sound of Mushrooms.
Me
but
too. Peas would be a little risque for
a
their
little risque
age.
for their age.
If
Yeah.
you've seen Grease, then you know that Peas, the parody, the VeggieTales parody, is probably a little risque. So they probably did see Sound of Mushroom.
Anyways,
I thought that was very important.
it was very important. So they're exiting. They talk about the movie for a minute, but they see LarryBoy screaming past in the Larrymobile, and Callie gets all excited because she loves LarryBoy. It's like her. She's a
Callie is the junior of this episode, but I like
Callie
her.
is a new character.
Yes.
I wish she in the
She's been in a
Netflix-
bunch of episodes so far. She just hasn't been like
No, I know.
a centerpiece.
I just meant she was new to.
LarryBoy.
She's new. She's like new on the VeggieTales show. She was created for VeggieTales show.
I believe
but
she was on the
may have been
Netflix.
on
She was on the
Netflix.
Netflix
Okay.
one, from what I recall.
She is definitely not on the OG.
No,
VeggieTales.
not to my recollection. If she was, then I really don't remember, and I'm sorry.
But it seems like she is kind of replacing Junior in some aspects, as she has been a main character a couple of times.
And I want to say right now that Callie is 1,000 times better than Junior in this episode. If Junior had been in the same spot as her, it would not have been the same.
See, I like Junior
Callie
better.
being Junior, or Callie taking Junior's place is like, yes, every time can we have Callie take Junior's place, because Callie is a much better character
Agree,
because she's more
disagree.
fun. Junior's whiny and Callie is not. This is my opinion.
Okay.
This is just an
I
opinion.
think Callie is
not-
also probably just as whiny as Junior.
Callie literally at one point dresses up like a supervillain to go face LarryBoy, okay? Junior would have never have done that.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Okay.
Junior would be like, oh no, I gotta go admit my wrongs. Callie tried to do what anyone else would have done and dressed up like a supervillain.
Yes, anyone.
I know that's
else
near
would
the end of the
have
episode,
done
but it's very important. There are multiple times in this episode where I actually thought Callie was pretty funny. At one point, she dresses up with a fake mustache and glasses, even though she's already wearing glasses. So she's wearing glasses on top of glasses so no one will recognize her. As if anyone's gonna care about this little Callie, like this little girl cauliflower. No, she dresses up anyways. And then she goes and dresses up like a supervillain later on just to confront LarryBoy to try to get her non-costume self out of trouble. It's a whole thing, and I love it. And I wish Callie the best in her future endeavors in VeggieTales.
Okay. Well, I think Junior could have done the same thing.
No, Junior would have ruined the episode, and I'm being for real.
I just thought she didn't seem very likable because right away
What?
from the beginning, she like jumps in Larry's boy's car. She's
Okay,
taking a bunch of
I agree.
selfies. She's doing a live
Yes.
video about herself and her superhero car.
It was very Junior-esque.
It was very lame.
It was exactly what I would expect a Junior to do. It's how she reacts to her terrible decision making and what she does next after that. And by the way, I noticed that this episode was not written by Phil or Mike. And
It's true.
I
was better.
hate to mention that because but like it was actually when I saw the name, I was like, oh, interesting. I thought Mike would have written the LarryBoy episode, but he didn't. Though Mike does voice a different version of QWERTY later on, which I thought was interesting.
It was. Anyway, so Callie jumps in the Larrymobile while LarryBoy is inside confronting the Scallion, which, interesting note, they gave him a first name, and I meant to write it down, and I didn't. So,
It was,
I thought that was
yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
But
So
the
if
rest
you-
of the time, they just call him Scallion.
Yes, the Scallion, who's been in VeggieTales since like the very beginning almost, now has a name. And if you want to find it out, you just gotta watch the episode. It's not like
He says it one time.
It's not a hidden clue or something. It's like it's blatantly obvious. We just didn't write it down. So if you want to know, it's there. Or ask somebody who's watched the episode. But it's
So
free.
finally,
Yeah.
he's been around since show 1, and he finally got a
Show
name.
one, and he finally gets a name.
Anyways.
Or no one knows my name or something like that. Yeah.
Well, I was paraphrasing because what he actually says is, I've been around since show 1, and they still haven't given me a name.
yes, but now
But
here in
now-
2020,
Yes,
as
he has a name.
2020 comes to an end. He has a name, and he's been around since 1993. So for 27 years, they've been holding out, but now he gets a
Although
name.
that Scallion had a British accent, and this Scallion has an Italian accent, so
Oh, are we implying this is a different Scallion?
could be a different Scallion.
I think they changed the accent because everyone was like, "Isn't that just Archibald?"
Yeah, basically.
Which they do joke about in the OG VeggieTales. So
Anyway, so LarryBoy's confronting the Scallion in the museum. The
Mm-hmm.
Scallion is doing some very insulting remarks
Yes.
about his fashionable
he's like, "Oh, purple and
costume.
yellow, really?"
Yeah, basically.
He's like Jerry Boy, and he's like, "Well, actually, it's Larry Boy." He's like, "Okay, Jerry Boy."
No, my favorite part was, I don't remember what he says. I can do this with my costume. You can unplug 2 toilets at the same time. And LarryBoy was like, what? You mean my plungers aren't fashionable?
I thought he was setting up an epic rap battle of history, honestly, with the way the insults started.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. It was a good moment. Good
I
battle.
would love to see an epic rap battle of history with no cursing, by the way, which they do on occasion. Bob versus Larry. Let's get it. I want to see it.
That would be pretty funny.
Yep.
Anyway, so while all this is happening, Callie takes the Larry Mobile. Archibald calls and is wondering what's happening. She lies. I think this is the first time we see her lie in the episode. I could be wrong. But anyway, she lies and says she's a superhero vehicle inspector. Pretends to go through a tunnel. Archibald's like, you're making the noise with your mouth, and she hangs up on him. Somehow she doesn't know how to drive or what any of the buttons are, but she's able to hang up on him. And this whole time, her phone has been sitting on the floor recording everything because she was doing a video. Then she gets...
Yeah, and if you, by the way, if you watched the episode, I pointed out multiple times to you, Mary, as you may remember. But if you pause when it shows the camera... Okay, so her camera's just her phone. So when it shows the phone and just the phone on screen, where it's positioned in the vehicle and how it shows her face is like... Okay, so the camera will be like basically in the area of, let's say, her waist. But that's where it's physically located. But somehow the video on the camera that's supposed to be like a selfie view is like as if she was holding it at like face level. I don't know how to explain. It's like up where her head is, but it's like kind of jarring. And then at one point the phone is on the floor, and all you should see is like the underside of the dashboard or like the pedals if pedals are down there. But instead it's not quite head on. It's not quite a face view, but it's kind of like
a waist.
It's kind of like the waist up thing from earlier. It's just like, it's kind of jarring. If you watch this, like pause whenever it shows.
Kids are not going to care.
Anyone listening to this is now being informed. Pause it because it's just like an interesting thing. It's like a little jarring when you like, how am I seeing her face from this angle?
I wouldn't have thought a thing unless you said
maybe
something.
It's just me. Well, anyway, it's just a fun.
I mean, it's a fun fact.
It's a fun goof for anyone watching, for anyone who's listening to this episode.
So Callie, of course, crashes the Bat.
Of course.
Not Batmobile. Larrymobile.
Well, it is a Batmobile in a way.
Right in front of the museum, right as LarryBoy's coming out with the Scallion.
LarryBoy. I want to point out LarryBoy actually caught a criminal. And it is not, it is kind of his fault. He did leave his LarryBoy door open. And that's how she was able to get in the vehicle. But he did catch a criminal for once.
He caught a criminal.
This doesn't happen very often. We should applaud him.
If it weren't for Callie, it would have been
If it weren't
fine.
for Callie taking his vehicle and being a child, which LarryBoy did literally leave his door open, LarryBoy would have caught the criminal, and it would have been a clean, and it would have been perfect, and be like, wow, LarryBoy has gotten better.
But
if you watch Viv from Outer Space, he's terrible.
Well,
now he's gotten to the point where he's actually a competent
he's
superhero.
Improved, so maybe this is a
But the news lady trashes him hardcore.
This was actually my favorite new character, I think.
It was Adele.
Adele Pepper.
Yes.
She was pretty funny. She came with this huge agenda against LarryBoy.
It was perfect.
She shows up and basically just interviews Callie because she's the poor citizen who happened to be driving.
Yes. Callie was kidnapped, basically.
So Callie has to make up this big story about how she was kidnapped by this caped
Crusader. Caper, whatever.
No, I forget his name. I wrote it down.
All right.
Just a second.
It's a character Callie made up that doesn't really exist.
Yeah, she made up. It was Caped Coat.
Yeah, it's a super villain.
Jumped into the car while LarryBoy was in the museum. It was, and he was trying to get ready for Scallion so he could get away. And she fought him in the car, and the car wrecked. Basically. So the reporter's like, oh, you mean LarryBoy wasn't there to protect you?
And then she goes over to LarryBoy. She's like, what do you have to say about this? And she hits him. Watch this. And you may miss it if you don't pay attention, but she hits LarryBoy right in the face on purpose with the microphone and doesn't apologize. No. And it's wonderful.
That's pretty funny. And LarryBoy was like, well, I was busy, of course, catching Scallion, but she cuts him off. Too busy to help a poor little girl.
I love it.
It was pretty funny.
It was great how the reporter was like twisting everything for this agenda. And then like at the end it's like, and that's it. And she's like all like sweet and nice at the end of her closing report. And totally just trashing on LarryBoy. Yeah. But you know what? I think she has a legit point. Because it is LarryBoy's fault that the vehicle was even available to be stolen. And then later on in this episode, she trashes on him again. Like, all these people are like, yeah, what good is LarryBoy here if he's not actually going to protect and help any of us? And I'm like, Yes, that's all the other episodes. Like, he usually causes the problem or can't solve the problem himself. Like, I think I'm trying to think. Bad Apple. I'm trying to think. Was that his fault, Larry Boy? He did save the day at the end. I'll give him that. Because in Fib and in Rumor Weed, he didn't save the day.
Yeah,
in Fib and
Junior
Rumor Weed,
or
Junior caused it, and Junior had saved the day, and Larry was basically worthless. And it was kind of
in both of them.
yes.
Yeah.
Bad Apple, I do think he got a little bit better. It was my critique of Bad Apple. And then in the Avengers one, the League of Incredible Vegetables, Larry, I think at one point got frozen. But that was also a pretty good one. Anyone who wondering, League of Incredible Vegetables, my review of it and the actual episode, pretty good. So he actually has gotten better over time, but it's almost like this critique of like, what good is Larry Boy should have been like back in the Rumor Weed episode, because those first two, I remember the hype as a kid for Larry Boy, and then I remember growing up thinking he was like this great superhero, and he wasn't. He was terrible. But here, he actually is better. He's not great, but he's above average. And sometimes that's more than anything else.
Right.
Because the cops didn't even show up to that robbery, by the way. We failed to mention it earlier.
Right.
There are no cops.
Laura was like, we should call the cops to come help, or the police, whatever, to come help Larry Boy. And Callie's like, no, he's fine. I'm just going to take some selfies. I don't know why Laura didn't call him. Maybe Laura didn't have a cell phone.
Maybe Laura doesn't have a cell phone. Maybe her parents are...
So in all the kerfuffle, Callie's phone falls into the Scallion's bag, and the Scallion gets away. It's
ridiculous, by the way.
This was during the crash.
Yes.
We failed to mention that. So, of course, Larry Boy has to try and find the Scallion again. And it cuts back to the Larry cave, and this is where we see or hear Mike Naraki being QWERTY.
Yes. Okay. So I have to say this because so it was Mike's voice, and I didn't realize it. So Larry Boy's computer is voiced by Mike, and you think Mary hung out with Mike every day or something, because I didn't recognize Mike's normal voice. I know. I've even met the guy in person. We hugged once. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Like but anyways, I don't recognize his voice. But somehow Larry Boy's computer, and maybe it's always been like this, and I don't remember.
No.
It's QWERTY. In the credits, it's labeled as QWERTY.
In the credits, it's labeled as QWERTY.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
That is the new version of QWERTY. It's Larry Boy's computer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Voiced by Mike. I mean,
apparently,
I liked it because he was even snarky with Larry Boy, but no, it was different.
Look, this episode almost felt like classic VeggieTales through and through. Like, straight up, like, there's snark, there's people doing ridiculous things, there's punching Larry Boy in the face with a microphone. Callie literally, haven't got to it yet, dresses up in multiple like the humor, the quirkiness, the lesson, it's all there. It's all there. This is what VeggieTales was, and it's in a new episode.
Minus music.
And it's not perfect. No, it is lacking a little bit in the musical area. I think it's because they're on a tight schedule, and I'm not going to hit them too hard on that. But if they could make, oh my gosh, like, just make more of like this. This is what I want. This and Shakespeare's play, like the kind of humor and quirkiness, and there's still a lesson to be learned, is like exactly what I want.
Right.
And I know I'm an adult and I'm not the target audience, but if I'm talking about for my kids, like, when it's like my kids watch VeggieTales, like, I'm not going to want to turn on Little Things Matter, or what was the last one we just got on? The gentleness one.
Is great.
Yeah, like, I'm not going to want to watch those with my kids, but I will watch the new Larry. I'll watch this Larry Boy. I will watch Shakespeare's play. I will want to watch the good ones. That's the ones I would want them to watch. So I just want to say, like, I know I cannot say, watch this episode. This is like almost classic. Almost. It's not quite. But in a lot of ways, it is classic VeggieTales. So, written by not anyone, not Phil or Mike, which is so weird. But, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, we don't have to ruin everything. They could just watch.
No,
but I do want to mention one of my other favorite things. So since Callie lied and said there was this caped coat person, Larry Boy's trying to find anything about a caped coat person.
He trusts Callie that didn't lie to him.
Right, of
even
course.
Though she did, of course.
Why would he not trust Callie? And so the computer keeps saying, can't find anything. And Larry Boy keeps trying different things. And finally the computer's like, are you serious? I can't find anything. Just stop it. And so Archibald's like, I think we're going about this the wrong way. We know that Scallion likes fashionable things, so let's try and just think about what he would steal. Yeah. So then it cuts to Callie, and she's basically doing the same thing. She's like, I've got to help capture Scallion and get my phone back so that Larry Boy doesn't know I was lying.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is just to keep her cover. But she has like an Alexa speaker, which is called...
Don't say that name. We actually have one, and it will activate. I'm actually surprised it didn't do it right now. It's called Eugenia. It's It's an Amazon-like knockoff, and it's called Eugenia.
It is
and
a smart speaker.
Yeah, it's a smart speaker, like kind of like Google Home.
And it lights up with the light and everything.
And the blue light, and it's like the Christian version.
But it's Christian, right?
It's Christian!
It like tells her when they ask it questions, it tells you, oh no, you shouldn't lie. It tells them
biblical answers.
Yeah. It was pretty funny.
I would like one.
Yeah, I would
Could
like
we
one
get
too.
our Amazon-related device that's not the name I want to say, so it activates to be Christian? That'd be great.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
So she basically comes to the same conclusion. She's like, I need to find out what is something fashionable in the area that Scallion would do. And she's like hypothetically talking to herself and talking to her device, I guess. And all of a sudden, Laura just bursts in and answers the last question that she said. I forget even what the question was. Something like, what am I going to do next? And Laura bursts in and was
Tell
like,
the truth?
Tell the truth.
Yeah,
that's what you need to do.
Okay, so Callie goes, what would LarryBoy do? And Laura bursts in and goes, tell the truth.
Right.
Like Laura's like had her ear to the door the whole time.
Just
waiting for Callie to say something where she could burst in and be like, tell the truth.
Right.
Which of course is what she really should do. So anyways, we've kind of taken a long time, so I'm going to skim through a little bit. Basically, she goes to this hat store because Scallion's there, and she's trying to get her phone, and they're both wearing a fake mustache, fake eyelashes, fake glasses. Mind you, Callie already has glasses, so she's wearing glasses on top of glasses, and I'm hoping that maybe in a future episode she wears glasses on top of glasses on top of glasses. Like, we can just add more layers to the Callie costume character. Basically, doesn't LarryBoy come in?
Yeah, he comes in on a pogo stick and says, well, that wasn't very dramatic.
Which wasn't very funny.
I thought it was funny.
No, I didn't think it was. Well, that's difference of opinion. You're out of here. Any difference of opinion I don't agree with, you're gone. Bye. No, just kidding. So yes, he comes in on a pogo stick because he doesn't have his Larrymobile, and he basically screws it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
This is more what I expect from LarryBoy.
Either. No, she didn't really get in the way. No, they just screwed up, and then Scallion got away again.
Yeah. He's like, haha, Jerry boy.
Yeah, Jerry boy.
Jerry boy.
Did she get her phone back at that point?
She did get her phone back.
She got her phone back. But what happened was then what you're also talking about was the reporter, interviews all the common people.
So you screwed up again, LarryBoy.
Yes, and everyone hates LarryBoy. And so Callie's heartbroken because LarryBoy's her hero.
Yes,
and
she doesn't want LarryBoy to fail.
She knows this whole thing's her fault.
I don't want LarryBoy to fail.
So again, Laura's like, because Callie's like, oh, I have a plan. I can fix this. And Laura's like, oh, by telling the truth? No. Shockingly enough, that's not her plan. What was her plan, Wesley?
I don't know. My cat's doing like a super cute pose. I got distracted for a second.
She dresses up as a supervillain. She becomes...
Yes!
She becomes the caped coat.
First off, I loved the fake mustache costume, but then she dressed up like a supervillain. I'm like, where are we going? Why are we... What? She's going to become... I thought this was going to be
She
like Glass.
basically said,
I'm sorry,
I caused all this.
I thought it was going to be like the movie Unbreakable, directed by M. Night Shyamalan, which is such an obscure reference, I'm sure, for our audience. But in that movie, the whole time, the supervillain's been there, and he becomes a supervillain at the end because he won. Remember Samuel L. Jackson?
Vaguely.
We saw the sequel.
I know.
Okay. Anyways, for those who don't know what we're talking about, there's a movie where Bruce Willis finds out that actually he is like nearly invincible, and then Samuel L. Jackson is like his bones break super easily. He becomes the supervillain because he chooses to be the supervillain in the movie, which is so unusual. Usually supervillains are like, I'm forced to be the supervillain, or I've always been evil. But Callie's like choosing to be the supervillain, but it's only to try to pretend. She's trying to pretend to be the supervillain so that LarryBoy gets off of Callie's case, and it doesn't work.
Basically. And
then Callie at one point falls off the back of the building through sheer stupidity. LarryBoy saves her with his plunger here, rips her back up real quick like Whiplash. Somehow her clothes fall off, but only
the cape falls off.
Because also her mask falls off, even though it doesn't show that. The cape and the mask fall off, so it's just like normal Callie, which so strange. I guess she needs to like more tightly. If she's gonna really be a supervillain, she needs to put on her costume in a way that doesn't just like one Whiplash thing. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of fighting if you're a supervillain. That's all I'm saying. She's kind of new to this whole thing.
Well, she wants to be a superhero.
I know. So anyways, it falls off and everybody's like, what? And then she's like, I lied. I'm sorry. Here's my phone. And through the video on her phone, of course, it shows that Scallion goes to, and what's this called? Did you get this down?
I didn't write it down. It was like the best fashion club.
There's like some fashion
for supervillains.
Yes, for supervillains.
Yeah. There's
a store for supervillains, and LarryBoy hasn't checked there.
Right.
What? Because in the way, like, it's what's so crazy is that only because of a tag on a bag that he sees in the video does he know that's where Scallion came from. So LarryBoy already knew that the store existed because it wasn't like the name was on the tag. It was just like a symbol.
Right.
And LarryBoy's like, oh yeah, that's the store for supervillains. And like, why haven't you checked there, LarryBoy, for Scallion? And so it kind of skims over that he catches Scallion. It just kind of like,
He
the
just
episode has to
catches
end.
him. He's on TV. Adele Pepper's like, oh, what?
If we
now that
didn't
you finally have saved Bubblyberg, what do you have to say?
If we didn't spend a minute on the theme song, we could have watched him catch Scallion.
Exactly.
Yep.
But the whole point of the lesson was that Callie learned not to lie. And so it didn't really matter.
It was
I
the Fib
guess.
from outer space, but I would say, and this might be controversial, this is better than the Fib from outer space in
What?
almost every aspect, minus the theme song. There's no theme song in this episode, which is a very big disappointment. They should have done, I said when they did VeggieTales theme song, I said at least they could have had everyone dress up in a LarryBoy costume. At least. Even if they're still going to have to do it, why not just at least
Yeah.
dress everyone like LarryBoy? It would have
Do
been
something different.
Yeah, but they didn't. It was just normal. But they're on a tight turnaround, so I get it. But anyways, that was like the only downside, is that there's no LarryBoy theme song in this episode, and the music is a little bit lacking in areas. But otherwise, solid episode.
I wasn't a big fan of the ending, honestly.
What? Because they had to skim.
Yeah, well, because it ends with the Callie watching the TV reporter interviewing Larry, and then it just
Why isn't
like
she there?
cuts with
Yeah.
her smiling. I don't know, it just didn't feel
Yeah.
final.
I'm telling you, they have a tight time limit.
I know.
These episodes have to be like 22, 23 minutes. So
Just saying, it wasn't like satisfying.
Sure.
Overall,
It wasn't perfect.
It was a very good episode.
this is definitely better in my opinion. This is better than Fib from Outer Space, and it does the same lesson. And Callie's infinitely a better character than Junior, and I don't care if you agree. That's my opinion. You can like Junior more, it's fine. I just like Callie more.
I like Fib from Outer Space still, but I was not a big fan of Rumor Weed. I never really liked Rumor Weed.
Rumor Weed was only good for the Rumor Weed song, in my opinion. I thought Rumor Weed was like Fib from Outer Space, but just a little bit better, but it wasn't like a ton better. Bad Apple was like, so Rumor Weed
like
and
Bad
Fib from
Apple.
Outer Space were like Batman parodies, and Bad Apple's a Spider-Man
Spider-Man.
2 parody. And all that coughing, sorry. And then League of Incredible Vegetables was just the Avengers. Here there was like no direct parody. It was just like more, I would say it was more of a generic LarryBoy. It was kind of more, I guess, more like Batman if it had to be like anything, but it wasn't like, it didn't feel like it was parodying anything like all the other LarryBoys did.
Yeah.
It felt like LarryBoy was more of his own thing here.
Yeah.
He wasn't like, he didn't have any great catchphrases this episode, I guess, but really what made the episode for me was Callie. Because if Callie had been lame the entire episode, it would have just been another LarryBoy episode. It would have been nothing special. But because Callie was so weird and did strange
Sure.
things and like was
I
quirky,
mean, when she came out in the cave.
and the
that was
reporter
pretty
punches LarryBoy in the nose
Yeah.
with a microphone, which is classic.
Adele Pepper.
Yes. I think this episode, this is a great episode. I'm
was
not going to say
good.
it's like the best. I think Shakespeare's Play is probably the best one we've watched so far still. But this is close second out of all the episodes we've watched for Yippee.
You just said
So-
it was the best and watch it first and then Shakespeare.
No, I do think if you're going to jump into Yippee and you're going to be like, okay, watch this one first. Like, this is the one that feels like another this one feels like truly another OG VeggieTales
Okay.
episode. That's what I'm saying. Shakespeare's Play, like all those stage plays are like a little jarring. Like I remember when we first reviewed these and we're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Because you just have to realize like, okay, we're doing a whole different format. That's what's happening. But this one, you don't have to realize that. You just have to have watched regular VeggieTales and you know.
True.
Yep. It's just regular VeggieTales. So anyways, highly recommend. This is the first episode I recommend watching if you get Yippee. And at this point, we got 11 episodes and not here long coming up next month. Every month they come out with a new episode where there'll be like 12, 13, 14. It just keeps stacking up, Eventually it's going to get to a point where we're going to have like, our child's going to be like, oh, yeah, there's like 60 Yippee episodes here. I've never even shown these to you because they just keep making one every month. So, yeah, it's going to be so many. All right, well, that's it for this review. Any final thoughts?
No, I really enjoyed it.
Okay, well, eventually, for those who've gotten to the end of this episode, eventually we will come back and do more. I don't have a set date, but we're not retired. Eventually we'll do more reviews. Famous last words. Okay, bye.
Bye.